What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be going through every NBA team's most likely trade candidate for the Western Conference. The previous video was about the Eastern Conference, so go check that out after this one finishes. But before we start, make sure to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. The first team of the video is the Los Angeles Clippers, and the player they are most likely to trade is John Collins. It was pretty much a process of elimination. Kawhi and Harden have 0% chance of getting traded, considering they don't have their own first-round pick for a while. Teams are interested in Zubac, but I highly doubt they trade him. They have very few young players, so I'd say they want to keep guys like Jordan Miller, Kobe Sanders, Yannick Koenen-Niederhauser, Kobe Brown, and Cam Christie, and guys like Brook Lopez and Nick Batum have negative value, so it's really up to Collins or maybe Derrick Jones Jr. But when healthy, Jones is a great fit around Harden, Kawhi, and Zubac, and he's not on that big of a contract, and he has another year left. Trading Collins for a guard to come off the bench and score, and can create their own shot, and occasionally set up others, will put the Clippers into serious playoff contention. Moving on to the Memphis Grizzlies, and the player they're most likely to trade is Ja Morant. The Grizzlies have a bunch of solid point guards, like Ty Jerome, who very well could have won the Most Improved Player award and was the top 3 candidate in the Sixth Man of the Year award last season. When he's healthy, he's one of the more efficient players in the league, despite what he did in the playoffs. He was a couple of missed free throws away from hitting the impressive 50-40-90 club. Scottie Pippen Jr. has turned himself into one of the better backup point guards when he plays, just like Jerome. And Cam Spencer is having a breakout season, where he's averaging 12 points and 5 assists on 48% from the field, and an extremely impressive 46% from free. His per 36 numbers skyrocketed to 18 points and 8 assists. Jerome and Pippen Jr. have dealt with injuries to start the year, so trading away Ja could be risky, but it's not like Ja is the healthiest player in the league. And Vince Williams Jr. has become a great playmaker this season, and can run the offense if Memphis gets that desperate. The next team up is the Utah Jazz, and the player they should trade at the deadline is Lauri Markkanen. With all the forwards on the Jazz's roster, keeping Lauri when he's taking minutes away from the younger players like Bryce Sensabaugh, Ace Bailey, Kyle Filipowski, Taylor Hendricks, and even Cody Williams just wouldn't make sense, and it could possibly stunt their short and long-term development. Markmanen's value is at an all-time high, so keeping him, like a couple of reports are saying, would be detrimental to Utah's future. If Desmond Bane went for 4 first-round picks, there's no way Markkanen could go for any less right now. They already got 5 first-round picks and 2 seconds for Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, so stacking up any more would just be insane. Markkanen's massive contract at $46 million for a player that hasn't played on a single competitive team would steer teams away, but a lot of teams are desperate for star power right now. Moving on to the Sacramento Kings, and the player they're most likely to trade is Zach LaVine. Sacramento are once again directionless, sitting as the 14th seed, 23 games under 500, and 9 games outside of the 10th seed. So trading away their veterans will have to happen, hopefully sooner rather than later. They have a bunch of young players they could be building around, like Keegan Murray, Devin Carter, Nee Clifford, Keon Ellis, Maxine Reynard, and Dylan Cardwell. Keeping a 30-year-old LaVine that doesn't want to be there just makes no sense. Having his massive $47 million contract on your books is just insanity. But I don't think many teams will be that interested in acquiring that contract, so trading him may be difficult without adding a draft pick or 2, so they may have no choice but to keep him. Other players they should be trading, that should be way easier to trade, are DeMar DeRozan, Malik Monk, Dennis Schroeder, and Domantas Sabonis, but I don't think they will end up moving Sabonis. The next team up is the Los Angeles Lakers, and the player they're most likely to trade is DeAndre Ayton. Ayton doesn't fit with this Lakers team at all, especially when Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves are your core players. None of them are great on the defensive end, and all three of them need a love threat on the court. And Ayton is not a good defender, nor a guy that catches lobs, even with his 7-foot, 252-pound frame. Ayton isn't a threat on the defensive end or a guy that can stretch the floor, the two most important qualities of basketball in 2026. So winning a championship when he's just starting center will be extremely tough. His $8 million contract should be easy enough to move. Flipping him for someone like Daniel Gafford, Robert Williams, Wendell Carter Jr., or Clint Capella would be perfect. Moving on to the Dallas Mavericks, and the player they're most likely to trade is Anthony Davis. The Mavericks don't have a chance at winning a championship how this team is currently constructed, with Kyrie Irving already being 33 years old and coming off an ACL tear, and Anthony Davis already missing time with 10 different injuries since getting traded 1 year ago. So they may as well wipe their hands clean of this team and start to build around Cooper Flag, and that starts with Anthony Davis. Trading him right now has its risks, with Davis' value being so low, but I'm sure a team will still give up a hell of a lot. We all know who Anthony Davis is when he's healthy. He's a big man with the skill set of a guard. His ball handling ability is pretty good. He has nice touch around the rim. He can shoot the ball at a pretty solid rate, and he's one hell of a defender. But his big contract is another reason teams might be hesitant to give up a lot for him. But one first-round pick is enough when you've got one of the best cornerstones to build around in Cooper Flag. Other guys that could be traded are Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, Najee Marshall, Daniel Gafford, and D'Angelo Russell. The next team up is the Denver Nuggets, and the player they're most likely to trade is Daron Holmes. With the best center in the world in Nikola Jokic on your team, and one of the better backup centers in Jonas Valanciunas also on your team, it doesn't leave a lot of room for Daron Holmes to get rotational minutes. Trading away a young rim-protecting center is risky when your starting center and backup center both don't provide much on the defensive end, but trading players when they're young can get you a lot in return. The Nuggets are desperately trying to win, but I don't see them beating the Thunder unless they upgrade their bench. And by trading one of the more promising young players that are stuck behind two veterans will get you the most value. Teams would give up a lot for a young rim-protecting center that has nice touch around the rim, is a great finisher, and can possibly stretch the floor. Moving on to the New Orleans Pelicans, and the player they're most likely to move on from, it's DeJounte Murray. The Pelicans found their point guard of the future when they drafted Jeremiah Fears with the 7th pick in this year's draft, and the best way of developing him is handing him the keys to the franchise. And the best way to do that is trading away their veteran point guard as coming off a major injury has kept him out for a year. Murray has shooting question marks, so he doesn't really fit with this Pelicans team anyway. Fears, Zion, and Derek Queen all have floor stretching problems, and Jordan Poole, Trey Murphy, and Herb Jones are all inconsistent from beyond the three-point line. Murray's at his best when he's a lead guard, and that was never going to happen in New Orleans. A team like Houston, who could use some creators, could give up a first-round pick for him. Sadiq Bey, Jordan Hawkins, and Jose Alvarado are other guys that could be traded, but I went with Murray because of their depth at the guard position. The next team up is the Houston Rockets, and the player they're most likely to trade is Dorian Finney-Smith. Finding a player to trade was a real process of elimination Kevin Durant is the staple in this team. Alperen Şengün and Amen Thompson are untouchables. Jabari Smith Jr., Reed Shepherd, and Tari Eason will only get traded if it's for a superstar, so they're safe. Steven Adams and Fred VanVleet are out for the season, so unless it's a salary dump, they're not getting traded. So it was between Dorian, Jae'Sean Tate, Aaron Holiday, or Josh Okogie. Aaron Holiday is one of the only other ball handlers on this team, so trading him would leave an even bigger hole at the point guard spot. And Finney Smith has way more value than Tate and Okogie. Finney Smith is a player every team could use. An elite shooter from beyond the perimeter. He moves well off the ball, and he's a great defender. There are teams that will line up for him all day, and the Rockets will be crazy to not at least tier offers for him. If they can trade him for another ball handler and another shot creator, they will be one of the only threats to dethrone the Thunder. Moving on to the San Antonio Spurs, and the player most likely to be traded is Jeremy Sochan. Sochan was meant to be a building block of this Spurs team when the Spurs took him with the 9th pick of the 2022 draft. But this year, he's completely been overlooked, only playing in 13 minutes a game on the season. So they may as well capitalize on his value while he's still young and still has some value. The one hole in the Spurs lineup is the power forward position, and a big part of that is Sochan being unable to find a role on this team with his inability to shoot the ball. Even though he's a great defender and a versatile one, he has a solid ball handle for a forward. He hustles hard, brings a ton of energy whenever he's on the court, and is willing to do the dirty work. His shooting inabilities and his limited offense is enough to stop him from getting playing time. A team could really use his services, and I'm sure would be willing to give up a lot for him. The next team up is the Phoenix Suns, and the player they should trade is Iguodala. With the logjam at the center position, Iguodala might just be the odd man out. Mark Williams has taken over the starting center position, and their rookie, Kamen Malawach, will likely take over the backup center role for the next couple of years. So having Iguodala to sit on the bench when you can trade him is pretty pointless. Iguodala is not a floor stretcher, so having him play foul forward won't work out at all. The Suns are tight against the luxury tax, so getting rid of his contract, even if it's only at $2 million, everything counts. His little contract and age make him a piece every team could trade for, especially if they're lacking depth at the big position, lacking playmaking, and someone that reads the floor well, and a guy that can switch onto guards as a bigger body. If they can flip him for another star shot creator, especially at the power forward position, then I'll definitely take it every day of the week. Moving on to the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the player they should trade is Ousmane Dieng. Dieng has been in trade talks for at least 2 years now, but I truly believe this year is the year he finally gets traded. After the Thunder's disappointing start, it's still crazy how a team that is 38-11 is considered disappointing, but they lost 14 total games last season and were a chance to beat the Warriors' historic win record earlier on. But Dieng is in the final year of his contract, and if they don't want to waste the 11th pick in the draft 3 years ago, they would trade him now. With his limited role in OKC's rotation, keeping him rotting on the bench will just be a waste of resources and a waste of Osman's time. Dieng is never getting minutes over Lou Dort, Jalen Williams, Alex Caruso, Kesson Wallace, or Aaron Wiggins, so shipping him and some other assets to get either a backup center or another shot creator is the smartest thing to do. A lot of teams could use a 6'10 forward as a good defender, can defend 2 forwards and some small ball 5s, and can shoot the lights out. The next team up is the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the player they should trade is Rob Dillingham. If Minnesota wants to contend for a title, they need a serious upgrade at the point guard position. And the best way to get the best option at point guard is to trade away at the most valuable asset they have. Dante DiVincenzo, Mike Conley, and Rob Dillingham are nowhere near good enough to win you a title as starters. Dillingham is a 21-year-old that is a dangerous offensive weapon. He's an elite scorer and shot creator. He can score from anywhere on the court. He can use his speed driving to the rim and finishing over taller defenders. He can score in the mid-range and pull up from beyond the three-point line. He's also a great playmaker. He controls the pace well and makes the right read 90% of the time. He's also got an elite handle, but his lack of size really hurts him, not just on the defensive end, but he does struggle avoiding getting blocked by bigger defenders on the offensive end, and he also struggles with his turnovers. Moving on to the Portland Trail Blazers, and the player they're most likely to trade is Jrue Holiday. Drew's best fit is on a serious contender, and the Trail Blazers just aren't quite there yet, so trading him away makes the most sense. Having Jrue on the roster takes opportunities away from the young guards' development like Scoot Henderson, Caleb Love, and Shaedon Sharpe. Holiday's one of the better defenders on the perimeter with his incredible strength, quickness, high basketball IQ, relentless motor, and his quick hands, being able to strip defenders with ease. Paying him over $32 million for the next 3 years just wouldn't make any sense when they can get a lot of assets in return for him, and also save a lot of cap space to possibly land a big name in the next couple of years when they want to make a championship push. In his career, Holiday has been traded for Damian Lillard, who was older but still playing at an elite level, Malcolm Brogdon, Robert Williams, and Anthony Simons, and 6 first-round picks. So clearly teams value his defense that much. He may not be the same offensive player he once was, but his defense is still good enough to get a couple of first-round picks in return. The last team on the video is the Golden State Warriors, and their most likely trade candidate is Jonathan Kuminga. Kuminga clearly has the most value on the market on this team outside of Curry, who's not getting traded, and Kuminga has already asked to be traded, so capitalizing on his value while it's still high just makes too much sense. After Jimmy Butler's ACL tear that has put him out for the year, everyone seems like their value has ran out. Draymond's inability to avoid controversy makes him a huge risk to give anything up for. Will Richard, D'Anthony Melton, and Moses Moody all should be kept on their roster, unless it's for a superstar like Giannis. So that really leaves Brandon Przemski left. His value has gone down, but if a rebuilding team can get him for cheap, I think it'll definitely be worth it. On a team that's not in the headline so much, and that doesn't require him to play in a system, I truly believe Kuminga can be a star in this league. He's shown he can be capable of averaging 25 or so points, with his elite finishing tools and shot from outside the paint, and he's also improved his playmaking this season. If they can flip him for some depth and another elite scorer, they might just put themselves back into contending status. Anything's possible when Steph Curry's on your roster. That's gonna end this video. Let me know who you think gets traded by every team at the deadline in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next one.